Okay, so I thought I'd share something interesting with you. I was on the internet browsing Netflix and to see if some of the shows I'd worked on were on there, and I came across Horrid Henry. Now, Horrid Henry was a show that I did a number of years ago. I did about 3 seasons of it, and it's interesting because I took a screen grab here, and I out of all of they did about 220 episodes of this show, and I found it interesting that out of all of the 220 episodes, Netflix chose one of my episodes to use to advertise the show. Now, of course, this drawing here is done by an animation studio in China. They're the people who company called Sandman Animation did it. So there's the drawings of the Sandman artists. But I want you to see the comparison, because they've literally taken my storyboard panel, and this is what happened. I was one of the most trusted storyboard artists on this show, and I was often told that they were instructed to just trace my panels as accurately as they could and only adjust the model slightly, because I have a tendency to add a bit of Disney to the character. So here you can see, if we go in here, like this is this episode was called The Dangerous State to Drop. So I'm going to zoom in here on this this is one of the storyboard presentation panels that I gave when I hand in my work. So here you see it. Okay, so they're all sitting there on the sofa there, and they're all looking, and then basically they're squeezing whoopee cushions, and he's chucking it over to him, and then they all laugh while he squeezes it and farts. And obviously I just draw this up, and the animators, practically it's sent over to China, and obviously Henry's laughing a bit there, but you can see this guy here in the corner, William, he's crying his eyes. So all my little acting cues, this guy Andrew, I think his name was, he's pointing. Bert in the back, you see Ralph is looking down, holding his sides. So this is basically, I think it's important to... I got a question in my growth, development and progress group by a guy who regularly comments called Jordan, and he says, how detailed do your storyboards need to be? Do you need to draw them up nicely? Now, the jury's out. A lot of people think that you could just rough your storyboard panels and scribble them like dog shit, as long as it gets the point across. And yes, in a world of CG, it's encouraged. Even at Pixar, they encourage loose storyboards. But I'm of the opposite school of thought. I love people like, even the old Disney boards from Bambi and things like that. I love people like Miyazaki, and the boards, if you look at the boards for the original Akira by Otomo, they're practically, shot for shot almost. So I'm from that school of thought, and I think it really pays off because more of you ends up in the show when you're a storyboard artist. You can see here, they've literally, that's why, even though the animation of this show is really poor, to be honest with you, it's just a TV show that's done with not a great budget, and it's just animated fast in China, but you can get the quality in the board, and there'll be some quality retaining throughout the animation. So what I'll do before I go is I'm gonna go and just sort of glance through some of these storyboard panels for you to be able to have a look at what we have. Now I've got this here. Let me see if I can find another episode. So it's not that one. It would be... No. Let's go back to this. For some reason this is not where are we? There we go. Okay, right, so let's have a look. Okay, just to kind of keep this, let's drag this in here. I'm having to, okay, there we go. Right, so you can kind of see the kind of, let's just zoom in a bit. Okay, so you can see the what happens basically. I'll just zoom out and quickly scroll through these. Man, this Wacom is not very responsive for this kind of stuff. Okay, we'll just look at it like this. Okay, so it's so funny. You can draw precision and everything, but just to drag a slider up and down, it doesn't work very well. Okay, but so there you can see. You know, you make sure that the characters and the acting and all of that, get as much information as you can in there. You see, mainly with the acting, this is where you can kind of do key animation with the acting. You can see you could describe Henry shakes his head, then I've got him pointing with his back fingers, so the expression changes. So, you know, you can still kind of do key animation if you want to do drawing animation in a storyboard, if you like. So we've got all this kind of stuff going on here. So anyway, I mean, this is the entire episode that I boarded. So basically, I think it's 10-minute episodes. So let's see, do we have another batch? We've got batch 2 here. Let's open that out. Let's bring that in. Let's close that down. We'll close that down and bring this in. Okay. So coming through here, you can see. So everything has to read and everything has to be clear. But if you're, you know, even though my models are slightly different from the show, I draw them the way I like to see them, to be honest with you. You know, so you see that. So I'm being a bit more, you know, the kind of shapes that I like. Then, but you know, the studio in China puts it completely to model, but it's close enough and it's accurate enough to give them a reference, and everything's clear. You see the acting that you want to have and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I think this is a interesting little insight for you. I'm going to zoom into this one here. It's just, you see how we planned some of these shots, because although this was done in this man, it's just, come on, man, it's just so pathetic. I'm trying to zoom in and out of this slider. Oh, it's not happening. There we go. So this board actually was done pre-Storyboard Pro. Okay, so you see a lot of the actions here that were animatic style. Now you can make them all in sequence in Storyboard Pro and all that stuff, and then just it'll, you know, you can flow it out. It'll flow better. These were done in Photoshop, so these storyboards were drawn in Photoshop back in the day. So when I switched to Storyboard Pro, I didn't do any Horrid Henry on Storyboard Pro. They were all done in Photoshop. But even when I switched to Storyboard Pro, I would still have to present. I think I did a few episodes of this in Storyboard Pro. I would then export my JPEGs and I'd have to present them on this page, because this was the page by the company that I was commissioned to do it for, Spider Eye. This was the presentation format that they wanted it on, and you had to have the scripts, you had to have the numbering of the particular panels. They didn't like Storyboard Pro numbering, so I had to number it this way. Scene 9, so in the script you had a scene, you had different scenes in the script, so you translate the script. So scene 9, this is shot 12 panel 2, then we cut. So you need to give the camera scene 9 still, shot 13, panel 1, panel 2. So whenever there's a new shot, you have a number of panels in there, and then you kind of change up in there like that. So yeah, this is a good little trip down memory lane, and just sharing with you these storyboards, and maybe Jordan will see this video, and you don't have to be this clean. As I said, I believe in the law of compensation. Emerson called it one of the laws of laws. Whatever you put in, you receive. I mean, even in old-time religion, they used to say, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. I was often asked by this company to go and redraw other people's storyboards, but I declined, because even though they'd pay me to do that, even though, like, when I finished on the job, they would say, can you fix up some of these other boards? I'd say no, because I just don't see myself, I don't want to be limited by the other board artists. I believe myself to be superior. There's nothing wrong with that. You should have confidence in yourself, and it's beneath me to go and find myself limited to their angles. I might as well do something that I feel more worthwhile doing. But because I became so, because I put in more and I put in more effort, I was naturally always sought after by some of these companies, because they knew what they'd get from me would be a whole lot more informative. So it's your call. It's your call. I mean, for example, when I was a new board artist, one of the first commissions I had was on a Hollywood movie, Tales of Despero, because I breezed the storyboard test. And within a month, I was basically sitting with the director, Sam Fell, the guy who directed Paranorman, in Framestore Studios, because his co-director, Rob Stephenhagen, wasn't there. I think he was on a holiday, and he wanted me to sit down, and while he sat and described the shots, to just draw them visually as he spoke. And I was very, very, at that time I was quite, wow, this is great, but I mean, I guess because I was always there putting in that extra mile, going that extra mile. So it's your call, a little bit of career advice to people wanting to be storyboard artists. Yes, the flow is more important, the composition and all of that is very important, what the studios tell you to focus on. But at the end of the day, everybody loves a nice drawing, but don't place the drawing over the board. Okay, don't place that as your primary. The primary should be, does it flow? Are you getting the best? Are you telling the story in the best possible way, using the shots you have, the compositions you have, the flow that you have? And then also, but then where it really comes into play is the acting. For example, so the drawing helps with the acting. So you see Henry and his brother here. You see him seated there, and his brother's talking to him. This hamsters, and you see. So you make sure that your expressions are reading, your poses are reading, and all that kind of stuff. And that's where your drawing might come in a little bit handy. But you can still do that with loose drawings. This, having it this sharp was also for my own personal ego and my own personal standards. So, but it's nice to see, as I was browsing through the Netflix, look at that, doesn't my drawings look better than the, never mind. Okay, so, but as I was saying, you go and make of that what you will. I just thought I'd share that with you. Fascinating stuff. Hopefully I've given you some insight in what it is to be a storyboard artist. AMB signing out.